And we're rolling. We're live.
All right. As soon as you went live with this, I just saw this, and it's
So you wanted to go right out of the cannon right into a stat, right?
yes, but I lied to you. But it was an intentional lie because I wanted to catch you off guard with one thing.
Okay.
We briefly need to talk about something that should be fresh in our minds,
Okay.
and that is the fact that I showed up late to our workout today. And
I didn't even think twice about that.
I know that was going to be my point. The fact you didn't think twice about it.
No.
Why? I thought I was going to get up there and you were going to be like, Lotzi, where the F were you?
Because you have something that I don't have. You and Collie have something that I don't have, and that's children.
Okay.
So anytime you guys, I didn't always think about this, but after last week, it put it into perspective. Anytime you guys are late to something and I don't hear from you, I assume something's going on with a child.
Okay. So what about 30 seconds, not even, after I rolled in there, probably about 30 minutes late?
Yeah.
And I said, I hit the snooze button at 5 a.m. I woke up at 5 and I hit the snooze button.
Yep.
And then I woke up at 5:36. At that moment, you could have shredded me.
I could have, but I just think that happens sometimes. I mean, we're in there at 5:30, 5 days a week without missing.
Yeah.
Not everybody's, that's good. We've been consistent with that all summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when someone's consistent enough, I feel like you're okay. No one's perfect. You know what I mean? Like
I'm back.
Like nobody's perfect, but the thing is, you've been so consistent, and we've been so consistent that something like that is bound to happen. And you don't know. And if someone's inconsistent with something and they show up late to a workout, you assume, okay, well, they probably were goofing off or whatever. They weren't committed to getting up, and that's why they're late to a workout. But when someone's consistent with something and they're always there, you assume that the reason they're probably not there is that something went wrong, like they had a flat tire.
Right.
Something's going on with their kid, anything like that.
Blankets felt really good at 5, hit snooze, which by
that
the way,
happens from time to time.
Here's the thing that really, and I don't want to make excuses for myself because I would have, if I went up there and you and TB shredded me, I would have just taken it.
You would have loved it.
Yes, but I will say, I am now on iOS 18, and I don't know if that's what it is, but every morning I have an alarm set for 5. It goes off, I hit snooze once, and I then wake up at 5:10. I brush my teeth with my eyes basically still closed.
Right.
And then I quickly get my workout stuff on, and I basically drive to the gym with my eyes closed. Still sleeping.
Right.
For some reason, that didn't happen today. And I don't know if that's an iOS 18 issue or if I hit how it's either like snooze or turn off.
So did you snooze it and it just never went off? It just never went off again?
My 5:02 a.m. brain remembers hitting snooze.
Okay, so it went off the first time, but it never went off the second time.
Correct. But I don't know why. I don't know. Either way,
you could have hit the stop. If it didn't go off again, you had to have hit stop. I think that makes sense.
I think that's what I did, and maybe the stop button is located at a different place.
My
on the
question
phone now.
is, did you hit the screen, or did you hit a side button?
I don't know.
Not that we're into Apple advice, but I always know if I hit a side volume button, that means it's going to be a snooze. But don't snooze. That's a bad habit. Not condoning.
I know. I got a kick.
I'm not condoning that.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you wanted to snooze, you would hit a volume button.
Isn't there like some pretty specialized people in the world that publicly have said like if you're one to hit snooze, then there's something wrong with your brain, or your brain should be better or something?
I think what it does is it gets you back into sleep, and then you wake up inside. Your brain thinks you're going back to sleep, so then you wake up out of a deeper sleep than just waking up the first time.
Okay,
so
that
sounds right. It makes you groggy for the morning. Now you have your Polar Watch back though.
Yes, but my Polar Watch, again, this is stupid because I had all day to change this, but on Sunday, my Polar Watch was set for like 6:55 because that's what I had it set for Sunday morning.
Yeah, I always set, before I go to bed, I always set my Polar Watch as well.
Yeah. See, I don't know. It was a series of unfortunate events that led to me being late. I expected you to rip me and you didn't. Your explanation makes sense for it, but I feel like we had to bring it up.
Okay.
See, now, but I think now, I would hope that if I show up late tomorrow, you're going to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, sometimes, I mean, we're in off season still, not for much longer, but we're in off season. Off season is a time to strengthen your body, but also regenerate and recuperate it before the season starts. So I understand when guys are like not feeling 100% under the weather, and maybe they're not going to be there. Like I thought maybe you were sick.
I was not. But for me, I felt so much guilt because it's the off season, and it's no one's like holding me accountable to get to the gym. But in my head, you kind of are, TB kind of is, because we planned to be there at 5:30 and I showed up at like 5:50.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. It is. Let's just call a spade a spade. It is what it is. Like that's the whole point of me bringing this up.
It's tough being that it was from an inadvertent snooze.
I know. I wish my kid would have been sick or something.
Right.
All right. Anyway, so I just had to bring that up because I felt like that got swept under the rug too easily. I deserve
that
more.
out of the
I'm
way.
looking for one. I'm looking for you to give me one. That's what I'm asking for. All right. So yeah, when we started this podcast, which by the way, welcome to episode number 18 officially.
It is 18 this time.
Perfect. Okay. You mentioned that I wanted to start off with an interesting stat.
You did. You didn't tell me what it was going to be, but you said that I would like it.
So this, I think if I understand this stat correctly, this is almost biblical. This is insane.
Okay, so the stat you're about to tell me.
Yes.
Okay.
Out of all the goalies in last year's playoffs, Jeremy Swayman had a 14.4 goals saved above expected.
Okay.
The next goalie close to him was Igor Shesterkin with an 8.61, which is also, according to this, insane because the next one after that was Joseph Woll, who played in, maybe 3 or 4
and
games.
You like him.
I love him. His goal save above expected was 3.94. Then it starts to even out. Sergei Bobrovsky with a 3.01. And then actually another big percentage in drop. Aiden Hill with a 1.65. So think about that, okay? I just listed 5 goalies. Obviously the top 5 goalies from last year's playoffs in regards to GSAE.
Goal save above expected.
And there's a separation of almost 13 saves? No.
Goals saved above expected.
Goals saved above
But
expected.
between Igor and Jeremy Swayman, it's like a little less than 6.
Right. Which is insane.
Yeah. My question is, how did they measure this? Because Jeremy Swayman obviously would have played less games than Igor and Bob.
Mm-hmm.
So that must mean in his, did he play, was he in a 7-game series?
I don't even remember who they played in the first
So that
round.
must mean that in his small sample of a series,
Yeah.
he stopped 14.4 more. He made 14.4 more saves than he should have made.
Yes.
So, but Igor and Bob made 3, or Igor made 8.6, almost 9, and Bob made 3. So that means that if they were at 14, let's say like Swayman, over the course of the playoffs, they gave up goals that maybe they should have stopped, so their goals saved above expected went down.
Right. That's where it gets it's the same thing as like it's the same reason why when they're showing like the top leaders for the year and you're like 50 games in, it says minimum of 15 games played or 20 games played.
And that was a question I had about this is there a minimum of games played?
And I would highly doubt it because no.
Because they played
because Aiden Hill's on this list and his team didn't make it past the first round, and I don't even think he played every game.
No. Okay, so the Bruins made it to the second round last year, and they lost to Florida.
In 6.
So in his 2 series, which is half the playoffs, which is awesome, he stopped 14.4.
Which is insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is insane. So, and as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, he hasn't signed a contract, right?
Yes, as far as I know, they have not signed him to a contract yet.
Is he participating in camp yet?
Last I heard, he was not, but I don't know.
So all I'm saying here, and I agree with you, what you said last week, I think he should be participating in camp during these negotiations. But knowing what we all know, if you've been following this situation with Swayman and the Bruins, regarding his now education on this entire process from last year, right, which is his reasoning, and I'm not going to say excuse, but his reasoning for holding out the way he is. And the fact that he had a 14.4 GSAE last year in playoffs, I don't blame the guy for holding out at this point. But I would probably still be at camp. But this was an eye-opener for me. Because I have all the respect in the world for Igor Shesterkin. I like Joseph Woll. I think Sergei Bobrovsky's a Hall of Famer. I'll just stop there.
Yeah. And
he's on top of that list by how much? 6, 7?
Compared to Igor, he's almost 6 more goals saved above expected.
13 above Hilsey.
He's 13 above the 5th place goalie, which is Aiden Hill.
Over 11 on Sergei.
Yeah.
On Bob.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's how well he played for those 2 series.
So this guy, I mean, I don't know what the whole negotiations what it is right now, but I think he's going to get paid by somebody.
Think about if you went through a playoff series or 2 playoff series, and your goalie essentially gave you 7 goals back each series that the other team should have scored.
Yeah.
Credit to Swayman. You should win that series.
Yeah, 100%.
Unless the other goalie gave him like 10. But based on these numbers, Bob only had 3 more saved above expected. So your goalie giving you 7 goals back per series, I feel like you should win the series.
100%. Maybe, we'd have to look into it, but maybe he was the difference in the Toronto one. Like maybe what I'm saying is maybe 12 of those 14.4 saves were in the first round where they beat Toronto. But then only 2 of them were in Florida, and that's why they lost to Florida.
Yeah, because then you have to go by series. So, like, maybe he stopped 12 more than he should have in the first series. But in the second series, he stopped 2 more than he should have, but Bob stopped 8 more than he should have.
Right, exactly. And then maybe, I mean, that very well could be true.
And that's why they're not telling us.
Because didn't Bob struggle? I bet you Bob's number dropped in the finals.
In the finals, for sure, those 3 games.
Yeah. So I bet you Bob's numbers were a lot better than that prior to the last round.
Yeah.
Which Swayman's also could have dropped in that round too.
Right. It's one of those small sample size, like you mentioned, minimum certain number of games played.
Mm-hmm.
And we just don't have that on this in this stat.
But like, look at the teams he was playing against, man. Like Toronto's offensively, they're insane. They've got a lot of skill and a lot of guys who could put the puck in the back.
Yeah,
of the
but
net.
they fold in the playoffs.
I'm just saying. He's facing good offensive opportunities, I believe. Right? With guys who can rip the pill.
Yeah.
You know? And then he goes and plays Florida Panthers.
But playoff hockey is much tighter.
Right. I'm just saying, when they do get their chances, they've got guys
who can score.
They can score.
Yeah.
And then he goes and plays the eventual Stanley Cup champions and still came out of it with a 14.4 GSAE. That's pretty
crazy.
Sick. So I just thought it was an interesting stat we had to bring up, given the fact that Swayman's hot in the media right now with, or a hot topic in the media right now with his contract and everything. I think the guy, over the last 2 years, has proven that he should be one of the highest paid goalies in the league. I think this stat just solidifies that for me.
Well, I mean, clearly in Boston, they think it's Swayman time right now. And what'll be interesting to see for me is he's done all this with a really good goalie partner and a guy that he knows and they know he works well with.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's a whole different environment, how is he going to be now? And he's going to have to play a lot of games. Now, I think Corpy could play a ton of games too, and they could easily split during the season.
Mm-hmm.
But with this new contract, they may rely on him to play a lot more games, like 50-something, 60. So how is he going to be with Korpisalo, who's also a very good goalie, but do they gel the same as Ullmark and Swayman did when they were both in Boston? Because they both had success.
So you're saying that if he gets a big ticket, that the Bruins would be more incentivized to start him more games?
Probably because you're paying him all that money.
Right. I agree. I'm just making sure I had that. I understood what you were saying.
Yeah. I'm more interested in how is it going to be with him and Corpy versus him and Ullmark.
Yeah, big time. I think you're right. I think that's exactly what's going to happen if he signs a big contract.
Which is why I thought they should have kept Ullmark, because I think it's great to have 2 goalies who can play.
I know, but was what was that situation? Was Ullmark needing a new contract, and could they just not afford both of them?
I don't know, maybe.
But then what's the point of getting rid of Ullmark if you're not willing to give Swayman a big contract?
Maybe they are.
Maybe the Bruins are willing.
Maybe they want a lot of guys on big contracts, although I think the Bruins historically take team-friendly deals.
They do, except for Pasta.
Except for Pasta. He's broken that mold.
or pasta. Depends what country you're from, where you're listening from.
Right.
All right. Well, we could put that one to rest. But anyways, yeah, interesting stat. Crazy. When I read it, I was like, I had to do a double take. And I had one of those moments for me where I was like, I should send this to Hayden, but I know what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to be on this podcast. I'm going to bring it up on
you
here.
figure you just throw it on me right now.
Yep.
Okay.
And I also wanted to make sure that I understood it completely. I was like, there's no way he
looked at it over and over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is crazy.
All right. So next on the docket here, we've got talk a little bit about some NHL training camps. One thing I would like to start with is the Calgary quote-unquote goaltending conundrum. I'm not. Those are not my words. I'm stealing those words from NHL.com, and I believe it was actually their coach or maybe GM.
What's going on there? What do they have for goalies?
So this article is titled Flames Goalies Set for Open Competition in Camp After Markstrom's Trade. Calgary Flames General Manager Craig Conroy understands he's got a bit of a crease conundrum. Crease conundrum. Yes. With 3 untested goaltenders battling for the starting job in Calgary, Conroy admitted his net that's the biggest question mark heading into the 2024-25 season. He says, I want to see where the goaltending goes. That's a little bit unknown, but I can't worry about it. Talking to the guys, they all believe this is an unbelievable opportunity for me, and I'm going to grab the reins and run with it. That's what I want, someone to do that. All 3 guys feel very comfortable they're going to be that person. For the record, the 3 guys we're talking about are Dustin Wolf, Dan Vladar, and Devin Cooley. Stu, I don't know anything about Devin Cooley. Is he a college guy?
I don't either. I think he was. Maybe Denver.
Okay. I can talk a little bit about Dustin Wolf. I mean,
yep.
I think a lot of people have seen him.
Western Leaguer?
He's a Western Leaguer, actual Everett Silvertips.
And he's an American.
Yes. Played for my former junior team, the Everett Silvertips. Mm-hmm. Heard a lot of good things about this kid from a lot of people in Everett.
Yeah.
Good kid. Really good goalie. We've all seen the viral reels and clips of him on Instagram jumping in the air and all his movements.
That's the Holtby, right?
The Holtby.
Him and Hartsey do that.
Right. Yeah. So I don't.
Well, Hartsey doesn't do that anymore for the time being.
Right. But I would have to assume that Wolfie got that from Hartsey.
Who got that from Holtz?
Yes, and Hartsey was obsessed with Holtz.
Really?
Which, I mean, I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either.
A lot of the weird thing that Hartsey used to do was what Holtz used to do.
Did he do the water droplet, like the water bottles? Yeah.
Yep.
Rosie does that.
Yeah, he does. Well, he's basically a goalie.
Yeah.
It's weird. So anyways, I think Wolfie is a sick goalie. He's obviously undersized compared to the rest of the league, but I don't think that matters. And I'm not just saying that because I'm only 6 feet tall. I think he's even smaller than that. I think he's like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah. 5'10" might be generous even.
Yeah. So sick goalie, moves well. I like his game. I don't think we've seen a big enough sample size to really dissect it too much at an NHL level. Moving on, Dan Vladar. My only experience with this guy was actually, I think it was his rookie year, either over here, but definitely pro. He used to play for the Atlanta Gladiators when I was in Jacksonville, and we played them a lot.
Oh, so he came up from the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him. That's sweet.
We're talking 7 years ago.
Right. Well, yeah.
But
yeah.
This, I'm telling you, man, like one game specifically, and I'll never forget this game because it was the only game while I was in the coast that I ever saw more than 100 people in that building. The place was juiced, completely packed. Big barn, too, for an East Coast league.
For Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unusual.
It was packed. And we were both having a good game, but I remember when I was watching him, I was like, this guy's a little different.
He is a little different.
Like, in a good way. I'm like, I don't know if this guy's going to be in this league very long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's tall. He was athletic, fast, so fast. His reads were really good. There was times where I was just like watching him kind of also just watch the play develop in front of him. And I'm like, he looks like he's not even trying right now. But I'm in my head, or now looking back, I'm like, he was probably just like This is so easy for me.
Do you think it's because of how he sets himself up positionally, or what?
I think so. Yeah. I think he was just. I think it was a case of someone who's got like high end skill.
Okay.
And he was probably the game was moving a little slower for him than it was for me.
Super duper athletic, right?
Very athletic, and it was cool to see that at that level of hockey. If you've got, in my opinion, if you've got his size, his athleticism and skill, you probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah, you're going to be in the American League.
So he stuck out to me.
Okay.
And then there's Devin Cooley, who clearly you and I don't know anything about.
No, I think he got his start with the Sharks last year, maybe. He was the guy that was famous for saying, well, we're all going to die either way, so it doesn't really matter. When asked
that was
about,
him?
like, the pressure. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know.
American.
He keeps the pressure off himself.
6'5"? Dang.
And he's from California. That's kind of cool.
So he's got 6 games played, 2 wins, a .498 goals against average, and an .870 save percentage. I know that sounds awful, but
it's the San Jose Sharks.
And it's a small sample
Let's be
size,
honest.
right?
Yeah.
Like he could have, in those 2 wins, he might have had like 2 performances where he made 50 saves and let in 1 goal.
And he played Edmonton Oilers, who are a pretty good team. Seattle's got some dangerous guys. But either way.
Right there. One of his wins, 50 shots against, 1 goal against.
Yeah, okay. So there you go. So, yeah, he made 49 saves on 50 shots. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Jumping right into an NHL net, into the San Jose Sharks net, could not have been easy. There's no way.
No, definitely can't. I mean, we have experience playing on some pretty bad teams where you go into it knowing you're going to get absolutely reamed, but at an NHL level, and they were bad.
Yeah.
Like historically bad.
Yeah, they're a bad team.
Like I think the worst team since the Avs in like 2018 and
oh yeah. If I remember right, the Avs won the cup the next year or 2 years after that or 3 years after that.
Yeah, probably. I think
the Avs went last to first in like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, crazy. So I don't really know where we go with this. I think it's interesting to talk about considering our conversation last podcast about how to be a good goalie partner. This is a very unique situation because I think, well, actually we know Devin Cooley is coming in to an organization that he wasn't in before.
Yeah.
Whereas Wolfie and Vladar are familiar with each other because they've been within the organization for a few years now.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out. I think my guess, how this usually goes, and I'm not saying this is how it should be, is that Wolfie and Vladar will have a little bit of a longer leash than Cooley because they've been in the organization and they've had some success. But who knows?
They've been at the level for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I like watching Dustin Wolf play a lot, obviously. He just moves around so well. I feel like he's not very big, but he doesn't chase either. Like he isn't flying out or flying around. I feel like he's very athletic too.
It's kind of like Juicy in that regard.
Yeah, like Juicy when he's on.
Yeah.
He's not very big, but he's not flying out at the puck. Mm-hmm. He's just set. He's in a good spot. He's waiting for things to happen, and then he uses his speed and athleticism to his advantage to make saves that may be laterally or even just straight shots on goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and when he's off, he's chasing.
When he's off,
when he's on,
when he's off his game, he's flying out all over the place. He's getting himself out of position. I think part of this goes back to Henrik Lundqvist saying, "When I'm on my game, I'm a little bit deeper, and I just trust that I'll be able to read the puck."
Yeah,
and I think that that's actually pretty accurate from what I've experienced myself too. Mm-hmm. Is when you're fighting it a little bit, you just feel like you're not going to read the puck off the blade very well, and you're almost trying a little bit harder.
Yeah,
instead of just allowing yourself to relax and just trust in your ability to read pucks and make saves. You like sometimes when you're fighting it, you don't really feel like you're going to be able to make saves.
Right.
But I think in that moment, you just have to trust that you're going to be able to.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you can I know a lot of the viewers are probably trying to picture that during a game, but even during practice, it's the same thing. Like I found during our skate today, we went a little longer than we usually did, and towards the end of it, I think I was getting a little bit tired, and I was starting to do exactly that. I was starting to not really set my feet.
Yeah.
Guess a little bit.
Yeah, you start guessing.
Mm-hmm. And pucks were just whizzing by me.
Yeah.
You know?
And once you start guessing instead of reading, you put yourself in a really tough position.
Yeah.
It could be whether it's a straight shot or whether it's a 2-on-1 and there could be a lateral play.
Right.
Like the last thing you want to be is guessing, and what you really want to be is mentally quiet and focused and ready to make saves and ready to react to that shot, read it and react, or read and react across to a lateral pass.
Right. There's no better feeling than when you get in that, like, for me, it's if we're talking about during practice, it usually only lasts like 5 minutes, but when there's like nothing that's going to go by you, like you're just like, you find that little pocket where you're just dialed.
You get into a rhythm kind of a little bit into the warm-up drill.
Oh, it feels so good. Interesting quote here from Dustin Wolf, relative to what we're talking about. It says, quote, "Nothing in the way of playing hockey has changed. You come into camp trying to be as prepared as you physically can. It's about going out there, playing the game we love and having fun and trying to push for a job. You have to come in very confident. You have to mentally believe you're going to go in there and take a job and play well and help your team win games. That's the mindset I'm coming into camp with." So he does. I love the quote. He does mention there that you have to mentally believe you're going to go in there and take a job and play well to help your team win games. So this, again, going back to what we talked about last week, you have somebody, this article is all about how 3 goalies are competing for one job.
Yeah.
You have the goalie who, in my opinion, is probably number one in regards to chances of having that job, saying, I want to take that job.
Dustin Wolf.
Right.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, I guarantee you these guys are boys.
That's what I think too. But he also puts in there, he wants to be as prepared as he can, and he wants to enjoy playing the game and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, on one hand, you're competing for a job, but that's not all he's focused on. He's also focused on having fun and enjoying the game. And I think that once you do that, that is when you play your best hockey.
Yeah.
Rather than thinking about, I need to play for this job. Because I think once you start thinking about, I need to play for a certain job, I feel like your focus is on each individual puck. And, if you put more pressure on yourself each puck than you need to. So if you get scored on and your initial thought is, that's not going to get me this job, now you're going to set yourself up for failure going forward. If you're having fun and enjoying the game and you get scored on, your mind is not taken off playing the game.
Right.
It's not thinking about what job am I going to have, what are my stats. You're just mentally quiet and you're playing the game. And when you're mentally quiet and your head is clear, that's when you're going to have your best focus, and that's when you're going to play your best hockey, which in the long run is going to get you a job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't even really know what else to say. You kind of nailed it. I think like you said, as soon as you start thinking, oh, I got to do this or I'm not going to get that. Yeah. That's when you start guessing on pucks.
Like if you're going
trying too hard, not
absolutely.
setting your feet, chasing the game, But when you're just focused on, this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive, but when you're just focused on stopping the puck and you have like that free mind where you said, you're just going to go out there, have fun, play hockey, whatever. That's all you're thinking about. You're not worried about what's going to happen if I do this or if this happens. Mm-hmm. As soon as that happens, that's when you start it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, as soon as you start worrying about the predicaments of what's happening, mm-hmm. depending on how many saves you make or don't make, that's when you really start getting yourself off your game.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to get back on track from that point.
Yep. You want to keep going on this one, or you want to move along? We got 2 more things here.
We can move along.
Okay. This one's probably going to be pretty quick. I just wanted to bring it up because it's because of the age gap, really, and I think it's cool. I would love to be this guy. So again, pulling an article from NHL.com regarding the Minnesota Wild's, I guess, season preview, they're calling it. The first thing on here is it just mentions goalie split. Very, very short little paragraph here. It just kind of talks about Marc Andre Fleury, how he started 36 games last year, and Philip Gustafsson started 43. Over the past 2 seasons, Fleury started 81, Gustafsson 80, and their numbers are very similar. This isn't really where I wanted to go with this. I think this is you can find situations like that on multiple different NHL teams. What I wanted to talk about is you've got Marc Andre Fleury, who everybody knows everything about because he's very his personality is very live, and he's won Stanley Cups. He's been on the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is a huge, very publicized organization. Las Vegas, same thing, right? What I want to talk about is you take a guy like Marc Andre Fleury and you put him into that dressing room, and how much he helps that dressing room is one thing, but how much does he help Philip Gustafsson? What I'm trying to get at is, I would love to be Philip Gustafsson and have a guy like that as my part of my other half of the dynamic duo.
Yeah,
I feel like that would just be a blessing.
Absolutely. I mean, Fleury has 20 years of NHL experience now? Is that what it said?
I mean, it sounds right. It's going to be right around there, yeah.
Okay, so Fleury has something like 20 years of NHL experience, maybe a little less.
Oh, he's got 1,000 games. He's got over 1,000 games.
He's got 1,025 games played, which as a goalie is wild.
That's like, for a player, that's got to be like 16.
Yeah, 16 or 17 or 18.
It's crazy.
Or if you play in the SP, that's like 400 games.
He was drafted in 2003.
Okay, so he's got almost, I think he was in the queue for maybe one of those years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's got around 20 years. He's got, from his draft year, he's got over 20 years of NHL experience, NHL camps. Mm-hmm. You can't just buy 20 years of NHL experience.
No.
But what's cool for Philip Gustafsson and Wallstedt, who in the article it said they may carry 3 this year, just depending on what's going on. What's cool for Gustafsson and Wallstedt is that Marc Andre Fleury can now take 20 years of NHL experience and just put it into their minds.
Yep.
He just implant it into their minds and share that 20-something years or 20 years plus years of NHL experience that you can't just go out and buy. Now, that's crazy. That's something that would be so valuable to have, I can't even imagine.
Right.
And now Flowers at the point in his career where, being 40, his strength, obviously he's super athletic, but his strength now is his ability to read the game, and now he knows where he has to move and where he doesn't, and where the puck is going to go and where it isn't. Wallstedt and Gustafsson have to rely a little bit more on their athleticism, because even though Marc Andre Fleury can impart 20-plus years of NHL knowledge onto them, during a game, when the game is happening, he can't just wire into their brain and play the game for them.
Right. I think everything you just said helps them, but yeah, it's one thing to have that help. It's another thing to actually have the experience and go out there and have the tools that you've gained yourself, right? But I mean, a lot of the stuff you just mentioned is on the ice stuff, but even off the ice, like, I don't know Philip Gustafsson's family life, but to have a guy who is on your team that's a goaltender with that much experience, maybe one day Philip Gustafsson, like, his wife gets pregnant or something, and he's like, man, I don't know how to handle this. Like, my kid's crying until 4 a.m, and I got to get to practice at 7 a.m. And
we play that night,
right? And Flower could be like, don't worry, man. Like, this is what you got to do.
Right.
You know, there's so many being a professional hockey player. And I can't speak from because I don't have NHL experience, but I can talk from professional hockey experience. There's so many things away from the rink, practice, games, that type of thing. It's 90% of your time, but your life is completely different from a normal civilian's life. So to have a guy like Flower there for you, and knowing what I think we all believe to know about Flowers, that he's a really good stand-up guy, great teammate. To have that guy in your corner, man, it's priceless.
Yeah, I mean, and so off ice family, but even just mental stuff going through the season. So at some point for Wallstedt and for Gustafsson, things aren't going to go well. Flower can go to them and say, hey, I've been through this too. This is how you get out of it. And I think for Flower, he's a guy that when things don't go well, he's hard on himself in games, but in life, he's a pretty, I don't want to say carefree guy. I think he's very focused, but he's, I think, now learned to be able to let things go and just be happy as a person. And I think the ability to do that, even if you don't play well, translates to you playing well into the future. Like, it translates into you playing well in the future, and then you don't get into a stretch of bad games.
Right.
You have like a game where things don't go your way, which is inevitable as a goalie. Things aren't going to go your way. There's going to get weird. There's going to be weird bounces. But I think where Flower could help them is in recovering mentally after a game like that and going forward and playing their best hockey, just strictly based on mentality and their attitude around that game, letting it go and being able to focus forward and play their best the next game without thinking about what happened the last game, being completely clean, just going into that next game with focus and confidence. And, again, they'll get right back on track playing their best hockey after that, which as a young guy, I think is one of the hardest things to do.
It is. And I mean, so you and I, compared to Flower, would be considered young guys as well. So we're sitting here saying all these things, like everything you just said, we both know. And I would bet you Philip Gustafson probably knows. But there's something about a guy like Flower, which there isn't many guys in the world like Flower, just coming up to you and recognizing that with you, it gives you like that, it removes like the little devil on your shoulder telling you that you're wrong in what you're thinking. It's like, hang on, Flower's telling me that this is, like, he's been here before.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world.
Right. But it helps to have someone that you respect, that has been through this before. Also, just if you're not already thinking that, reassure you that where you think your brain should be, that it should be there.
Yeah.
That was a absolute soup of words I just put out, but I think everyone gets
I
what
know
I'm
what
saying.
you mean.
Yes. But anyways, I thought it was just a little note. Obviously I didn't say much on here, but I just think it's cool, man. I mean, you and I have a lot of respect for Flower. And again, my last point on all this would be Philip Gustafson, I hope, is not unintentionally taking advantage of the situation and soaking up as much as he possibly can.
I'm sure he is, because how could you not? He's also really good. Remember, when he was on Ottawa, he had Vezina numbers. Everyone was like, if this guy played more games, he'd win the Vezina.
Okay.
And then the Sens traded him because that's what the Sens do.
Yeah.
Shout out to Troy McTavish.
Garbage organization.
And so here he is now, and I think that's cool. I think he's a really good goalie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've watched anything yet, but I was watching Jets Wild highlights from preseason. And the goalie in net, I was like, who is this guy? Because he looks good. And it was Wallstedt.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I see. I'm the one who pulled up this article, and then I show it, and I'm reading 2 sentences of it. I didn't even see that last sentence. You're looking at it through the side like this, and then you find it. I think you read a little quicker than
I just skimmed. I briefly skimmed.
Well, good for you. I got to start skimming. One more point?
Yeah.
Or one more bullet point?
We can hammer it quickly, yeah.
Okay. In my notes here, I've got, how is Markstrom going to do in New Jersey? This episode is brought to you by Vita Era Hydration. Vita Era addresses 2 critical issues for a healthy lifestyle. First, throughout your day, you lose essential vitamins, minerals, and electrolytes, whether you're taking a walk, working out, or engaging in any energy-intensive activity. Vita Era replenishes these nutrients without the processed sugars and artificial additives like sucralose or aspartame found in many hydration products. Instead, Vita Era uses stevia, one of the healthiest natural sweeteners, to provide a refreshing taste. Second, with 60 to 70% of our bodies made up of water and 75% of people chronically dehydrated, it's showing that we're not drinking enough water. As an additive to water, Vita Era encourages you to increase your water intake. Vita Era is a 3-in-1 solution. It provides your everyday essential vitamins and minerals, green tea for enhanced performance and recovery, and electrolytes to maximize hydration efficiency. Each serving includes 500 milligrams of potassium, equivalent to the potassium content of a banana. Stay hydrated. Drink Vita Era.
I think he'll do well. I think he'll be good for them.
Okay.
Because I think between Akira Schmid and, help me out, Akira Schmid and who's the other guy there?
Blackwood's in my head, and I know he's been gone for 2 years.
No, it's Akira. It's Schmid.
Do you want me to pull it up?
Vanacek.
Right?
Yeah. I think between those two, I think Markstrom will be good for that team. And he'll be good for those guys also.
What do you mean considering those two are there? Like that those guys are there to help him?
Well, it's kind of been they've both struggled a little bit.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying from the New Jersey Devils win column perspective that Markstrom's going to be a big addition.
And I think for those guys' careers too.
My fear, this is why I wrote it here. And it's not that I don't agree with you, because I do. It's just this is like my gambling mind kicking in with this kind of stuff. I always just like second guess. It's like you and I are like, okay, the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. This is why. And then I'm like, yep, I believe in that for 18 weeks. And then playoffs hit, and I'm like, they're going to lose. And I bet them to lose.
Playoffs when you're like, I'm betting on the 49ers.
And you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when I say this. I feel like, and I have no example of this, oftentimes, or maybe oftentimes, I don't know because I don't have any examples, goalies specifically get shipped to different teams and then they just kind of have like a bust year, and that leads to another bust year, and then next thing you know, we won't even be talking about Jacob Markstrom in like 4 years. That's what I'm afraid of. That's what happened with Corey Schneider. And Corey Schneider, I grew up watching Corey Schneider. I thought he was nasty. And then his last 2 years, the guy was like a chair in the net. He couldn't stop anything.
See, I think part of you is right. I think, now remember, we're talking about Markstrom was on multiple people's top 5 goalies list in the NHL.
Yes.
We think he's also a very good goalie.
Top 10.
We like the way he plays.
Top 10, I think, right?
I've skated multiple times with a defenseman who's in Calgary's program.
Mm-hmm.
He did goalie worlds with Markstrom.
Oh, God, this should be
He
good.
says that Markstrom is absolutely dialed in all the time.
Really?
Just wants to get better. Just competes all the time.
That's so sick.
I think that's awesome.
I love hearing that. Okay, Jacob Markstrom for Vezina.
I'm not saying that. He's been a Vezina candidate before, hasn't he?
I'm sure.
But if you want to talk about goalies switching teams, Bob was on the Flyers, got traded, won 2 Vezinas with the Jackets. Went to Florida, had a down year, wasn't even dressing in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Spencer Knight and Chris Driedger were, but now he's got a cup. Flower didn't win a Vezina until he went to Vegas.
Right.
Bobby Lou was pretty good on Florida. He was really good on Vancouver.
And then he went back to Florida.
Patrick Waugh was okay on Montreal, got ripped for 10, was really good on Colorado.
Okay, Patrick Waugh was good in Montreal.
I'm just saying.
There's lots of examples of goalies having success after being traded.
Switching teams, yes.
Okay, Jacob Markstrom.
There's one rule, though, that contradicts all of that.
Okay.
If you get traded to the Philadelphia Flyers, you were going to have a bad year as a goalie.
What about the New Jersey Devils?
Maybe not today's Philadelphia Flyers because Torch is the coach. I don't know.
Name a goalie that's been traded to the Devils that's had a good season. Since Marty Brodeur, name a good goalie for the Devils.
Mackenzie Blackwood we thought was good on the Devils.
But he wasn't because
then
the Devils were like,
I don't know.
Then it was hard to tell.
Then he left. Well, no, he didn't leave. He got sent away for Akira Schmid and Vitek Vanacek.
And how'd they do last year?
I don't think very good, if I remember right.
I'm worried that this guy on my computer screen, who we both love, is about to have a down season. That's what I'm worried about. I do not trust the New Jersey Devils, and I have no reason for it.
But
actually, yes, I do.
But we trust Jacob Markstrom.
Yeah, but I mean, we've talked about this. He's not a quarterback; he's a goalie. The game comes to him.
They're young, and I think that they're offensively minded and not defensively sound.
I think that's a great way to. Even their good defensemen are offensively minded,
and it's easy. Being offensively minded, it's easy to win games regular season. You can win 5-4. You can win 6-5.
Yeah, he's not going to be happy.
But come playoff hockey time, if you're an offensively minded team, you're done. Look at the Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Devils, I guess, last year, because they made playoffs last year. But
Did they?
Yes. Yes, they were a playoff team.
I'm looking right now. I don't think they were, Stu.
No, 2023. Not this year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just you know what? Maybe my vision's being clouded by the fact that he's wearing a Devils jersey now, and I just correlate that with not good.
For goaltending, aside from Marty Brodeur,
right?
No.
But
although I will say Blackwood for that 2 years, I thought was good.
Okay.
I liked him.
You would know more than me. He was like, I'm not going to say he was your guy, but he was more your guy than my guy.
He was one of the guys. There's one of those
me.
things where if there's a slate of games, I don't know which one to watch. If New Jersey's playing, I'm like, oh, let's see if Blackwood's in.
Right. I don't know, man. I'm just dang. They have Jake Allen.
Yeah.
Oh wait, those other 2 guys are gone. Vanacek's gone.
How did I forget about Jake Allen? He got traded there last year, didn't he? Nico Dawes. He's like the other young guy.
Did Jake Allen play there last year?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
How do I tell that?
Yeah.
Game logs? I hate how it doesn't say. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, 13 games.
13 games and
So I don't know
900.
how I forgot about Jake Allen being traded.
He had a 900 save percentage with the New Jersey Devils. That's like a
young
950 on any other team.
Yeah. We like the way Jake Allen plays.
Jake Allen's
because
fine.
he's a product of Montreal's Sean Burke, right?
I believe so,
Yeah,
yes.
we talked about that.
And I love Sean Burke.
We like Sean Burke.
Sean Burke is, if he might be top 3, like,
Goalie coaches of all time?
No, yes. Yes. In my opinion, he's the best goalie coach of all time.
Okay.
That might be an interesting podcast.
When the Canadians hired him in like 2020 or something, pretty sure Carey was struggling, and they're like, we got to get Carey back on track. And then they hired Sean Burke.
Yeah.
And then he like took him to the finals.
And
right?
Yes. And who else has he helped?
Mike Smith.
Saved his career. Gave him an extra 6 years on his career.
Made him an all-star.
Yep. Devin Dubnyk, who was like a first or second round pick, played for Edmonton and was trash for like 6 years. Goes to Phoenix, and then all of a sudden he signs like a multi-year $1 million ticket with Minnesota.
With the Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
and
Sean.
He was going to retire.
He should have gave half his contract to Sean. Tell me another goalie coach with that much impact on 3 different high-end NHL goalies' careers.
Mike Smith. We don't even know how many he's helped.
Right.
There's people that he's helped that we haven't even talked about.
Yeah.
Jake Allen. That's 4.
That's 4.
But you take a guy like Carey and then you give him Sean Burke when he's struggling, he just reels him right in, and Carey's dialed.
Yeah, let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about the best goalie to ever play the position becoming better because of Sean Burke.
How do you do that?
Yeah. How good of a goalie coach do you have to be to make Carey Price better?
Right. How do you take the guy who's like the most talented to ever play the position and make him better?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
a question for him.
I would kill to have that man on this podcast.
We have a theory. We have theories of how he did it.
Yes. But we don't have...
We don't know exactly.
No, but we need to talk about those theories.
I did hear a Sean Burke interview when he was with Montreal about how he was trying to work with Carey on different things.
You have to send me that.
Okay,
we have to talk about this. This is in my opinion, everything we just talked about is irrelevant compared to... No, it's not irrelevant. That's not the right word. It is... like on the bottom of importance compared to talking about Sean Burke on this podcast.
Right.
We have to talk about Sean Burke.
Yeah. And if this ever makes its way to him, we would like to just ask you questions and record it.
Yes. I played against his son, Brendan. Actually, I met Sean one time.
Yep.
And it was walking into the arena in Portland.
Yep.
He was talking, I was loading the bus, so it was after the game. His son's team probably pumped me for 6 goals. And I was walking by him, and he actually like stopped me. He's like, "Austin, it's very nice to meet you," and shook my hand. And I don't even remember what I said.
He seems like an awesome dude.
Yes. I don't remember if Brendan was the one who introduced or if Sean. It doesn't matter. Either way, I was like,
yeah, you wouldn't know what to think at that point. Yeah. We're going to have to do our research on that and get that into an episode.
Yeah, we do.